There are a lot of wonderful cookie decorations on the market these days, and that can make finding the best edible markers for cookies very difficult. Some of us will remember when that was not the case. For us, this is truly magical time in decorating that no one from the younger generations could possibly appreciate as we do. Gone are the days when the only way to create a picture on your fondant was to hand paint it with thinned food coloring. For quick reference, the best edible marker for cookies is AmeriColor's Gourmet Writer Food Decorator pens. They were tasteless, super easy to use, the color flowed well, stayed true, and if you take care of them, you get a lot of good use out of them. All those things together made Gourmet Writer Food Decorator pens from AmeriColor our choice for the best edible markers for cookies. In our test kitchen, we researched and discovered the 7 top-rated edible markers for cookies, as well as one you should avoid, and are happy to present our results to you. And now for Freshness.com's reviews of the 7 best edible markers for cookies, plus one to avoid. Coming in at number 1, AmeriColor Gourmet Writer Food Decorator Pens set of 10. There were a lot of good reasons to congratulate AmeriColor for producing the best edible markers for cookies. The very first thing that came to mind when we tried the AmeriColor Gourmet Writer Food Decorator pens was how wonderfully versatile they are. Of course, AmeriColor is and has been a top choice for us in the past, but we were still surprised by just how wonderfully useful these food-safe edible markers really are. You can achieve different thicknesses in your lines based on what angle you hold them while you are coloring, so it is relatively easy to cover large areas, yet you can still draw thin lines as well. These edible markers work well on any dry surface, but like all the markers we worked with on this list, they did best on fondant. We ended up having to clean the nibs between uses, but the manufacturer did warn about that. This is a 10-color set, so it comes with purple, blue, orange, yellow, green, pink, red, flesh tone, black, and brown. Per the AmeriColor website, these are all U.S. certified safe food colors. Each color is the same color as the pen it is inside, just that vibrant, and they had great color staying as well. The cookies that made it through the day were the same colors the following day, without lightening or darkening. We were able to use these pens to decorate over 12 dozen cookies without any issues. We tried storing 9 of them in the refrigerator and left the other one, cap on, out on the counter. The ones we refrigerated were fine the next day and able to decorate other cookies. The flesh tone marker we left out was not entirely dried out, but we could tell the difference. When working with these food coloring markers, they stayed wet the entire time. This was almost an issue for some of us who were not familiar with food markers. However, the trick we have found is to work extra fast so the colors do not have the chance to bleed. After they've been used on a cookie, the colors dry surprisingly fast. Most important of all, these edible food markers left no extra flavor or aftertaste on our cookies, making these the best overall edible markers for cookies. The only issue we ran into with these markers is that it was impossible to get a truly fine line. This may be due to how well the color flows out of them, and we certainly would not change that aspect. They still worked for everything we were attempting, but if you are trying to get a razor-thin detail, you may need to purchase a specialized marker for that, such as the Rainbow Dust Jet Black marker, since it has the finest tip of any of the edible markers on our list. Here are some pros. Versatile, flavorless, vibrant colors, colors last. Cons, not fine-pointed. Coming in at number 2, Edible Ink Food Coloring Pens, set of 11. There's a lot of love with pens from Edible Ink. They come with 2 black pens as well as yellow, orange, red, light and dark green, sky blue, purple, brown, and pink. They are FDA approved as edible ink, which is just a fancy way of saying they contain food dye, not actual ink. The edible ink pens all come with double nibs, so you can draw intricate details with the fine point and color huge swatches of an area with the bold point. We found this set as easy to use as any traditional marker. The ink is very wet, so care must be taken when using these. If you do not wear gloves while decorating, you can expect to have rainbow fingers when your project is finished. All the colors are bright and true to the exterior color of the pen. with the notable exception of the black pens, which we will further discuss below. The colors stay true even overnight, although, to be fair, we only had a few cookies that made it that long. As vibrant as the colors were, they did not in any way change the taste of the cookies we used them on. Even the cookies we selected for all red and black ink designs were yummy. When coloring large areas, it may be necessary to wipe the nibs off in order to keep the ink flowing properly. This was a little inconvenient, but anyone who has worked with edible coloring markers should be familiar with the practice. The biggest issue we had in the test kitchen when it came to using these food-safe edible markers was that the black was just not as rich as we were expecting. In every case, we had to allow the ink to dry entirely and then color over the cookies again. This proved just one inconvenience too many, so most of our cookies had dark gray designs instead of black. After careful consideration, we still decided these were the best edible markers for cookies on a budget. They were perfect for working with children, and the results you get are almost as good as using the AmeriColor edible markers. Here are some pros. 2 black pens, double-sided, flavorless, vibrant mostly. Here are some cons. Black pens are not vibrant. Coming in at number 3, Nomeca Flexible Brush Tip Food Coloring Markers Set of 10. What first struck the staff of the test kitchen upon first using these markers was just how much the results look like watercolor painting. This set includes sky blue, dark blue, red, black, fuchsia, bright pink, orange, and fluorescent yellow. These are not exactly the colors you might expect when thinking of the muted colors generally associated with watercolor painting, but that was part of the fun. The colors come out almost as bright as the exterior colors of the pens, but instead of flowing onto the cookies like ink, they look more like we had painted them on with a brush. The results were exciting and totally yummy, with no aftertaste. Nomeca only produces food-grade, FDA-approved edible ink, so it's perfectly safe. The marker nibs are super fine at the tips, larger toward the base, and all lines can be thicker or thinner based on how you hold the pens. We were able to apply handwritten notes on some of our cookies, and the ink did not bleed. They made fabulous markers for drawing calligraphy on the fondant. The only real problem any of us had with these edible food markers was that the few of us who were experienced with watercolor painting were disappointed that the marker tips did not have the feel of a paintbrush. If you happen to be a painter as well, we recommend you experiment a little with these markers before starting it on your project, so you have a good feel for how they work. Here are some pros. Gorgeous results, true colors, vibrant, flavorless. And here are some cons. Not really paintbrushes. Looking to learn more about the 7 best edible markers for cookies plus one to avoid in this review? View the links in the description section and click to learn more. Coming in at number 4, Rainbow Dust Professional Cake Decorators Food Pen Jet Black. Rainbow Dust produces the best black edible marker for cookies that we found. It is totally flavorless, so even if you decide to decorate your cookies in all goth, they still taste great. It does not produce a strong smell either, in case you were wondering. These markers have a dual tip, much like the edible ink markers we mentioned earlier. The superfine nib is 0.5 millimeters, which means it is as fine as the finest true ink pens on the market. Because the food coloring in this edible marker comes out like a regular ink pen, you can draw on your cookies as you would on a piece of paper, and the ink will not bleed unless you stop moving and allow it to bleed on purpose. The other nib is 2.5 millimeters, which places it closer to the size of a regular ballpoint pen. This is great for filling in larger areas, or if you happen to be drawing anime-type characters on your cookies. The black pen is a deep, rich color the first time you draw, so there's no need to go over anything twice. Normally, when using a black edible marker, if you stop midway and start drawing again, you get an annoying black spot. With Rainbow Dust edible markers, you do not run into that issue. The only thing about this product any of us took issue with was that you can only buy these pens as singles. There are other colors available, but they do not have a large set like other manufacturers. Overall, this was our very favorite black edible marker, in or out of a set. It is worth the extra money buying this pen separately. Here are some pros. Rich black, smooth color, dual tip, flavorless. And here are some cons. Sold only in singles. Coming in at number 5, Chefmaster double-sided food coloring markers, set of 10. The food-safe edible marker set from Chefmaster includes all your primary colors as well as a few other useful ones. Red, yellow, orange, light green, light blue, purple, brown, black, dark blue, and pink. They are 100% food-safe edible markers. They are double-sided, so each has a large and a fine tip. Our test kitchen found this set to be tasteless and surprisingly vibrant. Using them to create designs on our cookies was not difficult. The food color comes out very easily, so you will want to watch what you're doing because they have the potential to bleed. On the other hand, that also means it was super easy to get our cookies colored quickly, so that is a bit of a double-edged blade. We did, however, discover a few issues with the markers. The small nibs on these markers are very soft. That allows for a good flow of food color. That also means they can get a little sloppy. They are not a good set of markers for anything detailed. Used with a different marker, such as the Rainbow Dust Jet Black mentioned above, this is not a problem. On their own, however, you might be disappointed with the results you get from this set of food-safe edible markers. Another issue we ran into with these markers is that it takes a very long time for them to dry. By a long time, of course, we mean they still had not dried the day after the cookies were finished and decorated. This might not be an issue for some, but for anyone who intends to create cookies and then move them to a location outside their kitchen, it can be a big problem. Here are some pros. Tasteless, vibrant, double-sided. And here are some cons. Messy, soft tips. Don't always dry. Coming in at number 6, Bakerpan food coloring markers, set of 7. Of all the edible markers for cookies that we tried in our test kitchen, these are the ones we thought most appropriate for children's projects. They are very inexpensive and are perfect for practicing technique. The dye washed right off our fingers, so even if a mess is made, there are no long-term signs of it. Bakerpan food coloring markers comes in a set of 7 colors. Red, blue, green, yellow, black, purple, and orange. Each color left our cookies tasting unchanged by the food coloring. These are also kosher, making them perfect for those who follow a kosher diet. These food coloring markers do not write well on any fat-based products, where the ink tends to smudge and run instead of being absorbed. For the purpose of coloring on fondant, however, they were perfectly adequate. The nibs on Bakerpan markers are all very large, almost like a classic ink marker in size. This is part of what makes them so perfect for children. Adults, however, might find this to be annoying. They are too large for creating any kind of fine detail. Another issue for adults is that the colors are not vibrant, but instead look a little washed out. This is no doubt due to the fact that they are a drier marker. They do not bleed easily, which helped prevent our hands from becoming very stained, but that also means that if you want anything to be a vibrant color, you may have to color over it twice. Here are some pros. Perfect for kids, easy cleanup, kosher. Here are some cons. Not vibrant, drier pens. Coming in at number 7, Foodoodler fine line markers, set of 10. Our favorite part about the Foodoodler fine line markers was the name. This is not to say that there are not other great things about this edible marker for cookies. In fact, there were several in our test kitchen who liked these markers the best. Foodoodler markers come in a set of 10 and include black, brown, red, light blue, navy blue, green, yellow, orange, purple, and pink. These food coloring markers are certified 100% kosher. The nibs on these markers are very fine, making them great for drawing details. However, they are so fine you may want to have a secondary set of markers for coloring in large areas. This means they would make a great addition if you choose to buy the Chefmaster double-sided markers, as the colors complement each other well. We colored on a number of fondant-covered cookies with these markers and found their food coloring to be vibrant and to match the markers perfectly. They did not fade with time, nor did they leave any taste on the cookies. The biggest issue we had with this set of markers was that the colors can take a few hours to dry completely. Caution would recommend to ensure that you give yourself plenty of time to use these markers and for them to dry before packaging. Overall, we would say this is a good set of edible food coloring pens and worth giving a try if you need something colorful that is also great for detailed work. Here are some pros: kosher, vibrant. And here are some cons: long drying time, not double-sided. Finding this review educational and entertaining? If so, please like this video and leave a comment below with your favorite edible markers for cookies. Click the subscribe button and tap the notification bell to receive video updates. And now for Freshness.com's edible markers for cookies to avoid. Avoid Wilton W609105 Food Writer Markers set of 5. Wilton's W609105 Food Writer markers are one of the worst sets of edible markers for cookies on the market. They only come with 5 colors: brown, red, blue, green, and black. This is not particularly good in variety. There is nothing bright in the package, as even the green is a dark shade. On the positive side, these edible food markers are completely tasteless. This was a bit of a shock for those of us in the test kitchen. Wilton food colors usually have a very off-putting taste. We are not sure why they could not use the same color technology in their regular food colors. They're also very vibrant colors, and they hold that vibrancy even over time. On the negative, there are a lot of problems with these markers. To start with, the brown and the green markers were completely dried out when they arrived, and we were not able to revive them. Also, they are imported from China, so consumers concerned with quality and potential additives would want to avoid this product. The markers dry out fast when you're attempting to color with them. Even wiping the tips between designs did not help solve the issue. They offer very poor coverage, and what coverage we did get was mostly choppy. Strangely enough, they would go from not covering anything well to bleeding all over the place anytime they hit a crack on the surface of the fondant. Overall, the quality of Wilton's food coloring markers is just far too poor for us to recommend to anyone. Here are some pros, nevertheless: flavorless, vibrant. And here are all the cons: imported from China, often arrive dried out, poor coverage, bleed, not smooth. And now for Freshness.com's final thoughts on the 7 best edible markers for cookies, plus 1 to avoid. Edible food coloring markers can be a lot of fun to decorate with. They make coloring on a wide variety of cookies and cakes a joy, and even your children could get in on the fun. Markers are easy enough to use that even those who do not have the training or the knowledge to create grand designs and icing can still make something very special. There are a lot of great options on the market today for food coloring markers, and that can be overwhelming. That is why we chose to take on the question, what is the best edible marker for cookies to buy? We're happy to say we found several fantastic options for you. Looking to learn more about the 7 best edible markers for cookies, plus 1 to avoid in this review? View the links in the description section and click to learn more. Did you find this review educational and entertaining? If so, please like this video and leave a comment below with your favorite edible markers for cookies. Click the subscribe button and tap the notification bell to receive video updates.